Hi Level 2. This is our video on shadows. So if you look at your photograph in the background, you will see some cast shadows in a variety of different tones, and you may even see some little highlighted areas as well. So we're going to go over the steps of how you do it. Fortunately, there are only 4 color pencils that I recommend you using on this. If you see other tones or highlights, you can certainly do that. But I've got my indigo blue, I've got black, I have a goldenrod, and I also have a ginger root here. So before you get started with this, what you will be doing is you will be drawing the shapes of your actual shadows that you see. So I'd go through this whole thing and just draw what you see by looking at your photo. And I'm just drawing the shapes of my dark, and if I see any light little changes in the cast shadow, I'm drawing those. So I'm going to work on this little section right here, and then we're going to talk about this as a whole after I'm finished with this one section. So the first thing that you want to do is go from your light to your dark. So the lightest that I have is my ginger root, and this is a great neutral too. This could be used for some of your highlights. I used some of this for actually some of the highlights that were not as bright on my yellow, and I also used that a little bit on my red. So if you're not familiar with the ginger root, it's a really nice highlighty type thing that's not quite as intense as what you would find in a white or a cream. So I'm going to add this just a little bit in some of these areas. And I know when you're looking at this, you're thinking, well, gosh, this is a black piece of paper. You really wouldn't see that many highlights on it. But if you think about it, if you look really closely, hopefully on your photograph, you're going to see some yellow tones just from the reflection of the light that was shining on your piece. So I've got these extreme bright areas. There aren't that many in that little section. So you're going to go into your medium golden section. Now there are some other golden tones that you could use, but this one, the goldenrod, I found to be the most successful out of this, and it matches the most from what I can tell. So I can put this on top of this if I put my ginger root and it got a little bit too intense. I can add that. Also, if you go a little bit too crazy, you can always add black over this stuff. One big tip for this, and I'm barely even touching this with my color pencil, is to sharpen this really at a you can see my tip. It's very, very sharp. And continue to do that as you work, because you want this to be very subtle. And if you have something that's kind of dull, you're going to have kind of fat marks on your piece, and you're not going to really want that. You're going to want really small, tight marks to begin with, at least, on your cast shadows and some of your highlights on your black. Okay, so I finished with this, and I know you would think the next thing that I would do would be my indigo blue, but actually the next thing that I'm going to do that's closest to the paper is going to be the black. The indigo blue is what's going to make things look even darker than they really are. So the black is going to be used to tone down some things, if I want to tone down some things, and also it's going to be used to darken some of the cast shadows even on your paper. So this paper is not as black as this black. It's almost like a very, very dark gray. So this black, when placed, especially around your objects, especially around your paper strips, the darker it is, it's going to make those pop. So we're going to add those. Usually your cast shadow, it's going to be dark around your object. It's going to fade out as you come out. You may even find, and I added a little bit of my lighter tone here in this cast shadow, you're going to find in the central areas of some of your cast shadows, you may even have like a little highlight like that, as well as sometimes at the very end of some of your cast shadows. As you go out further with your cast shadows, they don't have to be as tight. You can kind of feather them out. I'm making little circular motions here to feather out my lines so it's not quite as tight and geometric looking. I'm going to outline this little section here. And I hope you can see that it is helping this blue to pop just a little bit more. And I'm going to mix that a little bit into that light that I added. It was a bit too intense right there. And you can always go back with your light if you mixed a little bit too much black in with it. Okay, so after I do this, my final step, unless I'm going back with my light, would be to finalize it with this indigo blue. And the indigo blue is something like, you know, if for ladies, if you were to put an eyeliner, or if you were to even put just another coat of mascara on your eyes, that sort of thing, it just helps things to further stand out. You can kind of see there's a difference now just in that little section. I'm not really pressing down all that hard, and I am blending as I go out. I'm not just creating a line. There's always going to be a faded area coming out of that extreme dark area. But it is, with the cast shadows, it's okay initially to outline what you have and then blend it out. I'm going back with just some of my medium lighter tones. So you can see at this point that I have a variety of different things going on. Now you can, at the very end, if you feel like this is too tight, or if you feel like this is too much of a lighter area, you can always go and pull some of, and I'm just making these just little slash lines, and you can always introduce some of your paper through some of that. I did that right here. It's like a cross hatching motion. It also loosens things up just a little bit if you're just thinking, you know, you just need a little bit more movement, because light does create movement and interest in your piece as you go. And you can see here I've got some uneven looking things going on right here with the light and dark value, and it's really important to have some light and dark patterns throughout your composition just to actually make this stand out and make this more interesting. One thing that I will say before I end this video is that when you start doing your cast shadows in your background, your hand is going to rub over your paper strip, and what's going to happen is the oils of your hand, they're going to pull up some of the colors that you added in the original paper strips. You're probably going to say to yourself, well, it's a little bit more dull than what I initially thought it should be. So after you finish doing your cast shadows, go back with especially some of your extreme lights. I had to go back and add another coat of just my very bright brights, and I even had to go and brighten some of this yellow here and some of the purples and even some of the blues, and I had to add some extremes to my reds as well as my greens. So, you know, don't think that you're done right after you add your cast shadow. Go back and look at the overall unity of your piece, because the final grade, it will be based on your cast shadows, but also it will be based on you going back and unifying your work, and as well as the last comments that I had made on your grade in rows 1 through 4, and what you need to do if you corrected those or not. So best to you guys. I sure do miss y'all. I sure have enjoyed doing this series, but there's nothing like seeing y'all in person. Let me know if y'all have any questions, or if there's anything I can do to help you guys out. Y'all have a great week, and I look forward to seeing your work very soon. Have a good day.